Hello and welcome to another Zend online video. My name is Kevin Schrader. I'm the Technology Evangelist for Zend Technologies, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a quick look at a couple of the things in Simplecloud, which is based off of zend-framework 1.11, or rather was added in zend-framework 1.11. The code that we're going to be looking at here is based off of some code that I did for a webinar on the Zend Cloud application platform on December the 1st. And so what I'm going to be doing is taking a look at the individual portions of our cloud platform. That's the parts that are in Zend Framework, and looking at them each individually in individual videos. So this is the first one. There are basically three primary places or primary types of functionality that you're going to have in the Simplecloud framework. It's document databases, message queues, and file storage. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the easiest one, that perhaps, not necessarily the easiest one, but the one that is the most popular right now, and that is document databases. Document databases are basically databases that do not have relational information stored in them, so they're very highly scalable. They may also not include data typing and things like that, whereas in a relational database, obviously types are very, very important. But in a document database, sometimes, depending on the database itself, typing may not be as important. And so we're going to be taking a look at today just the document database portion of it. So what I'm going to do, I actually have a VM here that's running, and this VM is going to be connecting into Simplecloud. Before we actually do the look at the code, I want to actually just run through this. So I'm going to specify to debug as there we go, on our VM here. The VM is just basically just a Linux CentOS distribution that's going to be connecting to Amazon, and we can take this and we can actually quite easily just distribute it on Amazon because the virtual machine is very similar. So the way this works, I put in my name, I specify an image that I want to resize. So if I take, where's a good one? Here we go. Fun in the Studio. And then I can specify the width that I want this to resize it as. Now what this will do is it will store it in S3, and then it will get data back via SQS, and then after, giving you a progress report, then after that it's going to go to, we're going to use SimpleDB to actually do a query on the database and figure out where this stuff is. So that's all that we're going to look at here today. So I'm going to upload this. It's running in the PHP application right now, and now we have our SQS, and SQS can be can have data. It's not a FIFO, it's not first in, first out, and so sometimes you can see data that's not completely up to date. And so now we see that our processing has completed, and we're going to go view processed files, and we see on here all of our individual files. I click on one, and we get this resized image. This is a screenshot I did a while of my workspace that I have for writing some tunes. So that's going on behind the scenes. It's using, like I said, S3, it's using SimpleDB, it's using SQS, it's also using the job queue in Zend Server to run this behind the scenes, so you don't have our front-end web servers waiting for that processing to go on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you really quickly how I actually handle the SimpleDB portion of it. We'll have another video a little bit later on showing you the SQS and S3 portion of it, which is basically you just do your queuing and your document and your file storage, and we'll look at those ones separately. So I'll close this out. The first thing we need to do is we need to configure Simplecloud, because what Simplecloud is really intended to do is build a or provide a mechanism that you can access various cloud service providers transparently. So this code, in theory, should work on Amazon, it should work on Azure, and so as more cloud adapters become available, that functionality should be available in a generic form on in Simplecloud. So we'll take a look just at the quick config. You'll see here that I specify the document adapter, my queue adapter, and my storage adapter. I want to do as much as I can in my ini file, because then I can just simply, any changes that need to be done to the application are done in the ini file and not in code. You want to stay away from doing things in code. You specify your AWS access key and secret key, which is actually in this file here, but I don't want to show that to you. And then for our storage S3 adapter, we specify our bucket name, but that doesn't matter here because we're just looking at S3. So the way this is actually working, there's two places where we're using S3. The first one is in a job called process images. And actually, before we go into this, take a look at our bootstrap, because what we want to do is we want to see how that adapter is actually created. So I have here a new config called config. It calls config ini right here. And then what it does is I store that in the registry, and then what I do is I call document or zend-cloud document service factory, and I call get adapter, and I pass in my configuration element. At that point, we'll be able to have a document adapter set up and ready to go and ready to be used anywhere in the application. And so if we're going to be looking at that, we'll go to our process images here, and we have some helper functions. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. The one we're going to be looking at here is this _execute, because this is actually going to be run on the backend server, or a backend cluster of servers. And so in here, I simply get my document adapter from the registry. And then what I do is I do some calculations to figure out what I wanted to resize the image as, and then I do this. I call the document adapter, call get document class, because each individual adapter may have some subtle differences, and using one of the getters here to figure out what the document class is allows you to handle some of those subtle differences, but do it in a way that's standardized across the different cloud platforms. So what I do is I create a new document calling new doc class. I pass an array of key value pairs of the information that I want to store, along with a primary key value. Then I call my document adapter and call insert document into a list of or into an individual collection, and that collection is actually viewable from within zend-studio here, because I'm using the Amazon EC2 or Amazon Eclipse integration points, I guess you could call it. And you see here I have a domain called images. I go in there, I click on edit, and I can see all of the things in here. This is SimpleDB right here. This is calling into the SimpleDB service, and we have our unique ID. We have the date, file name, height, the name, size, all the stuff that we specified in here. And so we have that stuff now that we can query against, because all we've done so far is just store data in there. So if I go back here and I go to my list.php, I call my document adapter again, Zend registry get document adapter, and then I call select, just like ZendDB. If you want to create a query, you don't want to call that query object directly or create that query object directly, because there may be adapter-specific implementations that need to be taken care of. So what you do instead is you call select, which will return a query object. We create our query where name equals, in this case, the name that's in the session from images. And then I do results based off the document adapter query on images with the query object passed directly in. Then later on here, I just iterate over my results. And when we do that, we get the page that we saw a little bit earlier on that had a list of all the individual files. And with that, the results set, as you can see, just look very much like a standard class or just property mapping on there. With that, that's pretty much all that you need to do. So it's real simple. Create your configuration with some stuff in here. Create your document service adapter by calling get adapter on the factory. And then from there, you pretty much call it from there, call select, or as we had back here in the in the job where we call insert documents. And that is pretty much all that you need to do in order to get up and running using the document service adapter using Simplecloud in zend-framework 1.11.